Hello, everyone. Oh, hello, everyone. Hello to everyone online as well. I know we're now live. Please welcome, take a seat, take a goodie bag. But hello and welcome to Entrepreneurship Decoded, brought to you by Startups Magazine, the wonderful inspiration space, and hosted by the lovely University of Winchester Business School. So thank you so much to Inspiration Space and University of Winchester to start with. For those of you who do not know, we are Startups Magazine, and we are a bi-monthly print and online publication that is dedicated to championing tech startups. And together with the Inspiration Space, we wanted to champion some amazing female entrepreneurs and bring you some insight into what it really takes to be an entrepreneur in today's climate. So we are here tonight as well to also launch our latest issue of Startups Magazine. If you haven't already seen it, there should be one in your goodie bag, but please do grab one. It is the super popular Women in Tech and Female Entrepreneurs edition, and it features some incredible stories and journeys from amazing entrepreneurs, both men and women, and it obviously just covers a topic very close to everyone's heart. So tonight is our second in-person / hybrid event. So please bear with me and my presenting skills. This is actually my second ever event for Startups Magazine. And please bear with our technology. And if there are any technical hiccups, I apologize in advance. So we will be hearing from our keynote tonight shortly, the lovely Preethi Sundaram, who is International Marketing Manager at Vimeo. What a treat. And then we will have the lovely Liana from Inspiration Space, our amazing sponsor, giving us some really, really insightful value. I've seen a sneak peek, so looking forward to that one. And then finally, I will be bringing you our amazing panel. And I will be asking them some questions, and I will save some time at the end for you guys to ask some questions too, so don't worry. And then we will also get a chance to go back into the foyer and have a little chat and network again over another drink if we fancy that. So we have got wristbands for anyone that is still a little bit cautious and wants to keep kind of a reasonable distance with COVID. That's totally fine. If you haven't already got one, please see us and we will grab one for you afterwards. Few more words from me because I understand I'm droning on. Just a few housekeepings. So if the fire alarm does go off, then panic. No, I'm joking. Please, we will need to evacuate the building. The exit point is behind me, and the university staff member will act as our fire warden. Oh gosh, that sounds so posh. They will be our fire warden, and they will be able to direct everyone out the auditorium and to the muster point and to safety. Bathrooms are behind the reception desk, behind the stairs. There was a big sign, so if you can't see it, then we'll help you. And if you have not and would not like to sign the West Down Centre, to Track and Trace, then there are codes everywhere, but someone else can help you direct yourself to one of them. So without further ado, because I don't like the sound of my voice anymore, let's please listen to our wonderful keynote, who tonight is virtual, but the lovely Preethi Sundaram. The stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for that lovely, lovely introduction. I am obviously going to take a second, because it always takes a second to share slides for some reason. And you can see my slides now. Okay, fantastic. So thank you for that introduction. It's such a pleasure to be with you all today. So I'm going to start by showing you this. So 50 years ago at Stanford University, they ran an experiment where they showed 50 students these images. And they said, "What do you see?" 49 of those students said something along the lines of this: "I see a family dropping their son off at university. I see a couple, and I see them with their child leaving a building. I see a couple with a stroller leaving the restaurant that they just had dinner at. Only one of those 50 students said, I see 2 circles, a triangle, and a rectangle. It was, in fact, just that. 2 circles, a triangle, and a rectangle. And when the other 49 students were told, yeah, it's just geometric shapes on a page, what do you think they said? They said, how can it mean nothing? How can it mean nothing? And you might think, well, that's crazy, isn't it? Of course, it's just 2 circles, a triangle, and a rectangle. My name is Preethi, and I run a consultancy, Possible Ground, where I help both individuals as well as entrepreneurs create narratives for themselves and for their businesses so they can create, communicate, and grow. They can grow personally or they can grow their business. And so on that note, what we do is we like to generate stories even when there isn't anything there. And you might think, well, I would have been one of those 50 who would have just seen the geometric shapes. Are you sure? Because I live in this city at the moment. I live in Paris. And whenever I tell one of my Australian, American, or British friends, or Canadian friends, or anyone that I'm living in Paris, the first thing they'll say to me is, wow, the most beautiful city in the world. You're living in the city of love. How magnificent. I say to them, actually, there's something called the Paris syndrome. I don't know if anyone in the room has heard of the Paris syndrome. The Paris syndrome is something that tourists routinely get treated for when they arrive in Paris because they feel a deep and dramatic disappointment at arriving in the city and seeing, God forbid, that it looks like any other city. There's a hospital in Paris that even treats tourists for Paris syndrome. Symptoms include fainting, hysteria, feelings of depression and disappointment. And it can take months to recover from the deep, deep disappointment that they feel when they arrive in Paris. Yet tourists still come year after year after year. Paris is by far the most visited city in the world. What is this if it isn't a story that we have told ourselves that is so ingrained in us about Paris? The minute I say city of love, we immediately make that connection to this city. What is that if it isn't a story that we've told? And is this just a landmass? Or is it the place of dreams, the American dream specifically? However, is it? The American dream is a belief that anyone, if they work hard enough, can become anything in the US. However, statistics show that, in fact, today, if you are born in public housing in the US, you have more of a chance of being struck by lightning twice than going to university. You have the facts, but then you have this enduring myth, this enduring story. We all think that it's facts that lead us to decisions. However, what facts lead us to is positioning statements. And this is Apple's positioning statement. Apple emphasizes technological research, advancement, and takes an innovative approach to business best practice. Raise your hands in the room if that's why you bought an iPhone. Or Airbnb. This one's really riveting. We are focused on creating an end-to-end travel platform that will handle every part of your trip. Can't wait. Right? Facts result in statements like this. And this isn't why you use Airbnb. This isn't why you've got an iPhone. Fact. An iPhone is consistently the most expensive phone on the market, and it's very rarely ranked the top phone. An Airbnb. So you're telling me with Airbnb that I, as a single woman, am going to go book a room in a house with someone I've never heard of, in a city I've never been to? I swear my mother warned me against this for decades. This is what facts lead us to. And this isn't why we consume these products. Facts give us positioning statements. You might even think, well, I do better than that in my business because I don't talk about features. I talk about benefits. Benefits are still facts. This is why you buy an iPhone. This is why you use Airbnb. So, what is this? What is it? This is how we make decisions. We start with a story and we retrofit the facts. We make decisions based on stories. And then, once we've made the decision, we find the facts that fit to the decision that we've made. So what is the story that Apple is telling you? What is the story that Airbnb is telling you? And how can you tell that same story? A positioning statement starts with company. It starts with you as the entrepreneur, you as the business owner, and it results in you telling your client what you can do for them. It results in you listing a bunch of things that you can do for them. Maybe they're features, maybe they're benefits. Don't know, but I know that they are facts. What Airbnb and what Apple do is what I call a value proposition narrative. They help their clients get to the promised land. A term I love, created by Andy Raskin. They help you, their client, get to the promised land. And how do they do that? They start with the broken world. They start with the broken world. They start with the world that their clients are inhibiting. And they show why it isn't functioning the way that they want it to. Travel is broken. Traditional technology isn't good enough for the world we live in. It isn't fast enough. It isn't sleek enough. They start with the broken world. Why is this such a powerful way to start? Think back to your favorite stories. Maybe it's Harry Potter. Maybe it's Lord of the Rings. Maybe it's Star Wars. It doesn't matter because they all start with a broken world. In Harry Potter, the world is broken. His parents have died. Voldemort is still alive. The world is broken. This is why it captures us. And these brands do the same thing. Your customer is the hero. This is step 2. When we do positioning statements, we, the company, are the hero. No one wants to listen to a story by you where you are the hero. Your customer is your hero. Your customer is your Harry Potter. Your customer is your Luke Skywalker. Your customer is your Frodo. So then who are you, the entrepreneur? What role do you play in this story? You are the mentor. You are the facilitator. You are helping your client get to their promised land. You are the Yoda. You are the Gandalf. Dumbledore. You are the mentor in this story. And let's go back and see how these 2 brands have done it. The broken world. Travel is broken. Traditional technology isn't keeping up. You, though, you want to belong when you travel. And we, Airbnb, we help you belong. We help you get to that promised land, the thing that you want, which is to travel anywhere authentically. Same with Apple. Traditional technology isn't keeping up. The world is fast-paced. We need to be connected. We help you think differently. The prize is getting your customer to their promised land. That's the power of a good story. And that's what good brands do. Good brands are able to center their customer as the hero. That's why we want to be associated with Apple. That's why we want to be associated with Airbnb. Because what does it mean about me? It means that I'm traveling authentically. Forget that racism is rife on the platform. Forget that most of the houses I've stayed on in Airbnb barely live up to their photos. Forget it. The story they've told me about who I can be when I use their platform is what I buy. Who am I? Who are you helping your customer be? So how do you tell that story? You start with the broken world. You start with the broken world. You start with Harry Potter in a world where his parents have passed away and Voldemort is still alive. The broken world. You find your hero. Who is your Harry Potter? You find your hero. Your customer is your hero. How do you guide them? Step 3. You are the mentor. How do you guide them? And step 4, the prize is getting your customer to the promised land. I encourage you to go look at Airbnb's advertising. You will never see products, features, benefits, none of that advertised on there. All you'll see is the ways in which they allow their clients to have authentic experiences. And that's what a value proposition narrative is. It's how do you get your clients to their promised land? Where is it that they want to be? And on that, I thank you very much for your time today. I am Preethi, and I run Possible Ground, a consultancy where we help you do exactly that. Build your story for your business. Create, communicate, and grow. And that can be whether that's through you personally or whether that's through your business. So again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Preethi. That was incredible. Oh, is she there? Not there? I couldn't see her. Yes, there. Amazing. I don't know if we really planned for this, but does anyone have any questions for Preethi? We have got a microphone, so if anyone's got any dying questions, we can answer them before we move on. No. You obviously answered everyone's questions in your slides. So thank you so much again. That was it was so insightful. Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Preethi. I'm now going to pass the stage to the lovely Liana. Yes, who has got slides coming up. And yes, take it away, Inspiration Space. Thank you so much.
Amazing. So, hold on. We're at the beginning of here we go. Okay. Hello, everyone online. Hello, everybody in the audience. My name is Liana Fricker, and I am founder of Inspiration Space. I want to thank Preethi for the story that she just told, and I'm going to follow on by telling you another one. Because whilst the Airbnbs and the Apples of this world have that story that they tell to their customer, as an entrepreneur, one of the most important stories you can tell is the one you tell to yourself. Because if the story that you tell to yourself is not bound in your vision, you can't be the mentor. You can't be the leader because you don't know where you're going. And so what we're going to talk about now is how we break that down and go backwards to the start. And I'm going to use my story as our working example. So I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. If you told me 10 years ago that I would be standing here having this conversation as the managing director and CEO of their own company, I would have laughed in your face. Not at all. And 3 years in, I can tell you right now, there's nothing I wouldn't believe. Because anything is possible, and it starts with that. If you're going about entrepreneurship, the first thing you need to know is anything is possible. Now here you will have literally a first look at life as a founder. Soon as you decide you are going to start your own business, this is where you go. Hopefully you've got a friend, a mentor, a community like Inspiration Space holding your hand along the side like, it's fine. It'll be fine. Because this is what you're signing up for. And that's a great thing because it is thrilling and it is exciting and it is rejuvenating, but it's real and it's scary. And so the second thing you need to tell yourself, the second part of your story is, I am possible. I can do this. I've done harder things before, right? Now, how do we get here? Well, it starts with two problems. And the first one, more often than not, is your own. For me, my problem was I was dissatisfied at work. I was burnt out. I had no sense of direction. I wanted to create generational wealth, but I was underemployed. And I loved what I did. I worked in marketing and I used storytelling and community building and content creation to change behavior. And I saw that it worked. But there was this part of me that could not help but think, surely working this hard until midnight to sell another bottle of Bacardi is not the best use of my skill. But I did not know where to turn. And again, this is why vision is so important. You can't lead yourself if you don't know where you're going. The second problem that I had was external. Once I decided that I was unhappy with my job, I decided to break what I call my break in case of emergency, and I moved to Surrey and I had a baby. But I did that because of the structural issues. I knew as a 27-year-old working in a creative startup, I wasn't going to get any maternity pay. The cost of commuting from Surrey to London was an expense I could not afford financially nor mentally. So it was an option that wasn't even really open, this commuting. So not knowing what I wanted to do, I was like, well, self-destruct. Like, brilliant. And that's what I did. And I was made redundant 2 days before I gave birth, because I knew I wasn't coming back, but I never told anybody because I don't really do confrontation that well. And so the whole time I was pregnant, like, see you in April, see you in April, knowing they were never going to see me again. And so when I was made redundant 2 days before I gave birth, literally 2 days before I gave birth, it was actually a blessing in disguise because all of a sudden the choice was taken away from me. So I had my maternity leave. It's the 2008 credit crunch. So I knew, again, the creative industry is totally off the cards. Like anybody who had a job at that point was holding on for dear life. People were being fired left, right, and center. It was like that door's closed. But in Silicon Valley, as a millennial, all of my peers who I went to university with in the States were starting companies. You know, I've got friends that were like employee 5 at Facebook, like nuts, right? People that I went to college with, people that I know. And that totally changed my perspective because all of a sudden, all these people that I knew that I related to were out there doing their own thing. And the story that I started to tell myself started to change because it was like, you could do your own thing. Oh, could I? Maybe you could. And then Instagram happened. And what I found I was able to do was to parlay my ability to create niche communities and content to support startups who were looking at doing the same thing that I was doing for big brands for their growing customer bases. And so I was able to build my digital skills. I basically never really left the game. It's just that I left on my own terms and I entered on my own terms. And all of a sudden, the story that I was telling myself really, really started to change and I flipped it. The problem was actually my problem. The opportunity was everything that was happening outside of me and how I wanted to react to that. And the reaction was inspiration space. Because as I started to go and the story that I told myself changed, I started to create, and all the things that attracted me to marketing and community building and all of these things really started to come up to the fore in this natural, liberated, free way that I'd never experienced before, ever. And that was really addictive, right? Like it feels good. It feels good. And that's the other story about entrepreneurship you've got to hold on to. This feels good. You make from nothing. Nothing. You have an idea and you magic it up. Who does that? Who does that? And so when you think about the roller coaster, you got to remember, most people don't even stand in line, let alone get on the thing. So already the story you tell yourself has to change, yeah? So when we talk about vision and we talk about entrepreneurship, I think what is so important to remember is this. You have got to create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life because you become what you believe. Why does this matter? Because this is hard. This is hard. And if you are not striving for something beyond where you are now, you're going to stop. And so if you know that at the beginning, if the story you tell yourself is that I am starting with the broken world and I'm going to fix it, I'm going to fix it, you're starting to tell yourself the right stories. For me, that moment was 2016 when Donald Trump won the election. I am an American. I came here during George W. I saw through 2 terms of Obama, and Donald Trump was not supposed to happen. Like, this was not supposed to happen. And I went to sleep. Every election, I stay up. I'm like, I'm gonna watch the results come in. Like I'm like some omnipotent force. And if I don't close my eyes, like I get the results I want, right? And so I was like, oh, but it's in the bag. So I went to sleep and I literally woke up to the news and I was like, wait, what? Excuse me? Excuse me? Who won? Who won? And it was a reminder, like anything is possible for good or for bad. And I had to ask myself, what are you gonna do about it? You could be a keyboard warrior, hashtag, white pantsuit or whatever it was, march. But I thought about it a little bit differently and thought, what if I did what I could do, which was inspire people? What if I could take all this community building and content marketing and all this stuff that I've used to increase the number of people that seek support, from rape services in London to selling bottles of Bacardi to sunglasses and BMWs. What if I did that to create the world that I wanted to see, which is a bunch of people that don't have the blinkers on anymore, that see that they are possible, that see all of the power and the control that they have to determine where they want to go. And not only that, they can take people with them. What if I did that? And so I was like, right. And I started with a party because that's what I know how to do well. And Inspiration Space really was born there. And I've got, original members here. Emily here was the first person I called. And I was like, thinking about doing this thing. She was like, go for it. And so you have to embrace the bold. You owe it to yourself to play as full as you can. And that's another story you have to tell. So my North Star, right? Everybody, you hear it like in tech circles a lot. Where's your North Star? Where's your North Star? My North Star for Inspiration Space is 50,000 people that we have impacted. 50,000 people who are inspired, inspiring others. And this stadium that you see here, that's 50,000 people. That's my highest vision, yeah? 50,000 people all in there, amped up about what they're able to do, they're on their phones telling people, you can do it. Like everybody amped, right? This is my vision, this right here. You need to think about your vision. And it's weird and it's uncomfortable and you're British, so it's also a little bit like, like maybe not, it's fine. It's not fine. This is too hard. This is too hard. You have to sacrifice too much. If you're going in, go in. So you have to tell yourself that you can do it. You've got to find that thing, your problem. Is it a divorce? Is it a death? Is it independence? Whatever it is, you've got to hold on to your problem and let that fuel you, because this is too hard to not want it enough. So it's all well and good talking about vision, right? Enter COVID. So, I see everything. This is what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. The global pandemic hits and I lost my view. I couldn't see anything. Everything was coming at me a million miles an hour, and I will never forget the moment. It was June 2020 and it's 3 a.m. and I'm looking for a job on LinkedIn because I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. This is a wrap. I just can't. Because there was so much pressure. Anybody who builds in community or is a coach or anything like that, if you were really in that space of supporting people through COVID, it got messy. It got messy because everybody went online. A lot of people took advantage of other people's vulnerable situations. And if you were in it for the right reason, it became very hard to see the wood for the trees. And I was like, that's it, I'm done. And I'm looking for a job at 3 a.m. on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm unemployable because I've been doing this too long and I'm not going back in the suited and booted world. So I have to figure out how to make this work. And I'll tell you, this is what I did. I took a big step back and I thought about what I was reaching for. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you this 5 bold steps vision canvas, and I'm going to work through what I did so that you can do this for yourself. I like to think of it as vision boarding for folks who don't want the arts and crafts part, right? Kind of the same idea, except you don't need a glue stick. So you start with what's in the middle, right? This is your vision statement. You might hear it called your North Star. And so for Inspiration Space, it's democratize entrepreneurship for the progress of all. Why? Because entrepreneurship is the greatest vehicle that you as a single individual have to create the world you want to see. Bet. You want to solve public housing crisis? Become a multimillionaire, sort it out. You want to solve climate change? Sort it out. Like it, honestly, you have the power. If you tell yourself you can, you can. No, you cannot do it alone, but that does not mean you have to stay in place. Sat there like I was in 2016 thinking, but what can I do? This feels so big. You do what you can do. And entrepreneurship is the great vehicle for that. So that's my vibe. So our vision statement is all around democratizing entrepreneurship for the progress of all. Then what you're going to start to think of this as a sun. Start to beam out in the horizon. So we've got our vision statement. This is why we exist. This is our rallying cry. This is our, belong anywhere to a certain extent. Well, how does that show up? Because I would imagine if we did this for Airbnb, racism and like sexual assault probably isn't going to show up in this like little bit right here, right? So at some point, facts do actually matter because we want to have ethical, sustainable businesses because this is all about shining bright light back in the world, not contributing to the junk, yeah? So this circle on the outside for Inspiration Space, this is what we believe. This is what runs through our DNA. So the first one is always open. Why? Because if you're trying to democratize entrepreneurship for the progress of all, there can't be any barriers. You can't have any barriers. Otherwise, it's like, well, not all, just some all. No. That's the vision, is all. Your space, your way. Again, all. I am me, you are you. What I want is different from what you want. So some tried and tested formula, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to raise VC, blah, blah, blah. Some code that somebody else made up about their rules of the game. It's not going to work if you're trying to democratize entrepreneurship for the progress of all. If it's all, it's all. So it's got to be your space, your way. Sustainability. Progress is all about being sustainable because progress is constant movement. You can't tap out. You can't tap out the resources that you use to build your business. You have to think about that, right? Equitable. Democratizing is about equality. So that has to live in what we do. And then real results is if I'm trying to get 50,000 people to be inspired enough to inspire, whatever I do has to work. Like, it has to work. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm not going to move the needle. So when you're going through this and you start with your North Star, then start to unpick what you're doing in your business. Think to yourself, how does this show up? How does it show up? And this will help you with that clarity when you're trying to figure out where you go next. So then once we've got this bit around, okay, these are the themes of our business, now we start to look at effectively your products and your services. So how do these show up? So for Inspiration Space, if you look at the always open, so for anyone online right here, powered by technology, because if you're always open, you got to be always open. We started as an offline network. So we would meet in person, but that's not always open. That's when we can. So we invested in technology. Join the community for free, always open. We're trying to democratize. There can't be any barriers. It has to be a case of, hey, if you're trying to build a business and you don't want to do it alone and you're not sure where to go, come in. There's a safe space because that helps me get to my North Star, which is my 50,000 people, right? Then your space, your way. Well, what does that mean for us when it comes to products and services? It means community because some people just don't want to be alone. It means programs because some people realize they don't know what they don't know and they need structure and they need accountability. Peer network, because you get to a point where you want to just be in arms with people who get it. You know, it's very normal in Inspiration Space to be having a mastermind group and someone bursts in tears just because this is overwhelming. This is overwhelming. Do not ever brush aside the intense emotion you feel while you're doing this. It's not normal. Okay, this is not normal. You've taken a different approach. So you don't really get to turn it off and on. This is real. You're gonna feel it. And so for us, it's that peer network is a place where people can access the space their way. Then we look at sustainability. And this is a space, to be perfectly honest with you, we're working through now because things are changing so fast. So as a founder, you've like, oh my gosh, you're talking about Web3 and the metaverse and NFTs. And it's like, I just got on Zoom 6 months ago. Like, what? And so, these are things that we're working out. But our first thing is a hybrid model. We don't need to be in cars so much. Let's use the technology. Let's think about how we create circular economies, Equitable, for us, it's about financial education, because you don't know what you don't know. And there are people that are going to be out to get you, especially if you're a woman in business. So it starts with, before we can even, we're not even going to talk right now about getting access to capital. You got to know what you don't know. You have to be confident, talking the talk, walking the walk, understanding, being okay to ask questions. I don't actually know how to read a balance sheet. You got to be able to say that. And so for us, that's what it is about, bringing that initial financial education and then opportunities, connecting to people. We invest back into the community. Our supply chain is the community. We generate opportunities, because if we're trying to democratize entrepreneurship for the progress of all, and we're dealing with startups at a time when there is no capital, only 2% of businesses are VC backable, right? Like, that's not some panacea. That's another myth. So what we're doing is creating opportunities. We're using what we have to keep the fuel going. And then when I look at, how real results show up for us, it's we do things that don't scale, and we've got a tailored approach. Because right now for us, doing things that don't scale means that we can get those real results. I could have blitz scaled this thing 1,000,000 times, I promise you. When I met Pam and Nigel at the University of Winchester in, it was the spring of 2018. I had 1,000,000 phone calls from people all over the country and the world asking me to franchise Inspiration Space. I actually had some meetings in the diary, and I luckily did Women in Digital Enterprise. And I took a big old step back and I just rethought everything. So I promise you, I could have blitz scaled this thing 1,000,000 times. I could be one of those, I'll teach you how to earn 7 figures, blah, blahs. I could have done it. I could have done it, but I didn't. Because my North Star is bigger. The vision that I have for myself is bigger. My mission is bigger than money, right? It's impact. So we do things that don't scale right now, and it works. And we have a really tailored approach, because there is no one size fits all approach to entrepreneurship. Your journey is your own. So when you're going through your own business and you're deconstructing and you're looking at your vision, just start connecting these dots. Ask yourself challenging, well, how does this show up? As Pam always says, the 5 whys. Keep digging, because you got to get to the rocks. This world is full of sand. Open up Twitter and everybody, I'll tell you how to do this. I'll tell you how to focus on your rocks, yeah? Then your 5 bold steps. This is my favorite part, because this is when we start getting just ridiculous, right? Just ludicrous. It's this is when you really start to amp yourself up. All well and good saying, this is my North Star. This is how it shows up in the business. This is how it all kind of associates with our products and our services. All right, clever chops, how are you going to do it? And this is where you're really real and honest with yourself. How am I going to do this? And what you don't do is I'm going to send an email on Monday and I'm going, no. This is big, bold steps. Bold, yes? So for us, the first one is be generous with our knowledge. Because if we're trying to democratize entrepreneurship, it shows up as being always open. We've got to be generous with knowledge, because we're just trying to make sure that everybody knows, hey, there's another way. There's another way, right? So that's our first bold step. The second one is to create groundbreaking programs that support digital finance and innovation. Because if we're talking about progress and democratizing entrepreneurship, we cannot ignore the fact that the world is moving at an astonishing rate. And he who has and understands and is confident about money and technology and innovation is going to win. We've not had a digital land grab like this since probably the early 1990s. It's real. It's almost amazing. I'm a child of the early 90s, and I grew up near Silicon Valley, so I've always been online. And I remember that, and I see the exact same thing. We've not seen anything like this in a long time. So you owe it to yourself to be bold, yeah? And so for us, it's we've got to support digital, we've got to support finance, we've got to support innovation. We need people telling themselves the stories that they are technologists, that they can build apps. Anything is possible, yeah? Then it's about working with partners and stakeholders to redefine the status quo. Because if you think about it, if you work backwards, if we're generous with our knowledge, if we're doing the groundbreaking opportunities and programs, if we're focused on real results, people will want to work with us because our vision is 50,000. And Pam, Nigel, and I, we're talented, but not 50,000 on our own talented. Like, you know, can't do that. And so we know that to get to where we want to go, we're going to need help. You know, we're going to need help. And this is what I like to call this snail and the whale approach, where you find someone who's like, I'm going around the world. And you're like, can we come too? And so you need to think about that for yourself. And then our next one is to develop our own platform technology to deliver tailored support and early intervention at scale. Now, this is obviously getting further and further away from where we are today. But we need to think about that, because if we're trying to get to 50,000, all of a sudden what we will find is we can't do the things that don't scale anymore. There's too many people. But we don't want to lose the real results. We don't want to lose the tailored approach. So we'll have to look at how we use technology to do it. And then finally, because now we're at our promised land, we've got our 50,000 in the stadium, the inspired are inspiring others. And at that point, we've reached the panacea and we've broken it open. We've reached our promised land. And now we can think beyond traditional business support. We can develop a borderless sustainable economy and whole new business models. And then at that point, I have reached my destination, which is to democratize business for the progress of all. And it sounds like a fantasy, but the thing is, you just chip away at it bit by bit by bit. But when the sweat is in your eyes and you got blisters on your hands and you want to quit, you got to look at that North Star and be like, this is why I'm doing it. And that's why you owe it to yourself to play big, because this is too hard. But it's not all fun and games, my friends. Because on either side of this, you've got the things that help you. So I guess you could also look at this as like gratitude. And then the things that are going to be harder. So for us at Inspiration Space, the things that help us, high quality content. We spend a lot of time, like, again, anyone who works with me will know, I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, what if we move it to the left a little? You know, very particular I am. And so, you know, we spend a lot of time and money in the content. We don't just throw stuff out. A distinct tone of voice. We're not afraid to be who we are. I could be pink and hashtag girl boss and all that. And again, I could have blitzscaled it. That's not us. And that's why it helps us, because we've really recognized that and we own it. And we've got a highly engaged community. More than 85% of our members have been with us since day one. We've grown together. And that's why I say I'm not just the founder of Inspiration Space, I'm patient zero. And I'm just that little bit ahead, and we're all doing this together and we're growing this together, and opportunities are coming to everyone, and it's amazing, right? It's amazing. And so the thing that helps us is our highly engaged community. And then on this side, you've got your challenges. So one is the changing customer behavior. Like, people are like, I want it 5 minutes ago. Like, I want it 5 minutes ago. There's a million things happening all the time. Everything is free, but like, just like people, you all know it's kind of chaos out there. It's a really crowded market. You can turn any direction and find someone who's going to help you with your business, right? And access to growth capital. We've got pretty ambitious goals, and it's hard to fundraise. So that's something that we're going to need to be thinking about, especially when we get to phase 4. And at that stage, we'll have to ask ourselves, do we want to be venture backable? You know, we'll have to think about it. And so all of this is just a way of working backwards so that you know where you're trying to go. Because the reality is, Apple didn't start as Apple and Airbnb didn't start as Airbnb. They built it up bit by bit along the way, and they had help. Now, this is my warning for the curious. As we build our things, and you know, we'll send out the slides, and you can do this as a self-guided activity. There's a very delicate balance that you have to always have as an entrepreneur. And I think for us in this highly digital age, it's a little bit more murky, which is the competition. Because you have to look, but not too much. And this is, again, where your own vision really comes in, but not just that, community. You need people around you who know what you're trying to achieve, who can help you say, nah. You could do that, but remember, this is where you want to go. And you're like, okay, thank you. I'm feeling the fear. I'm just, thank you. You cannot do this alone because nobody knows what they don't know. And the thing that, for whatever reason, is not page 1 on any business book is no one knows what they're doing. Nobody. You give me the most accomplished academic in business, and if they've never run a business, they have absolutely no idea. It is one thing in a book, and it is a whole other thing when it's this live, living, breathing organism in front of you. You're like, oh my God, it's hot. Like, it's hot, it's on fire. And so you have to surround yourself with people who get it, who can help you look at the competition without feeling skittish, who can help you stay focused, who can help you stay aligned, who can answer the questions that you don't know. You cannot do this alone. And I promise you, that's why everybody who's trying to apply to Y Combinator and Techstars and this, that, and the other. It's not just the money, it's the access. It's the person who's built and scaled and grown 5 unicorns who's like, oh no, just, do that. And it does become that simple, right? Because anyone in here who's more than 4 days into starting a business or 1 day in will know more about starting a business than you did the day before. So it's like, just pass it on. But you need a community. You cannot do this alone. And so for this, I say, we will send out the slides, but if this resonates with you and you're like, I need to find my vision, I can't see through, let us help you. If it's time for a new beginning, get in touch. You can have a complimentary power hour with myself, Pam, Nigel. We can take you through this exercise in a more tailored way so you can break down what it is that you need to do. So if anything else, you just have a clearer roadmap around what you're trying to do. And if you'd like to take that further and to build your business, grow your business, start your business with structure and support and advice, you can join the next cohort, which starts in October. All of that to say, just be mindful of the stories that you tell yourselves. Know that you can do this, and know that what you're doing isn't normal, and you have to embrace that. Don't fit into anyone else's version of what an entrepreneur is other than yourself. Okay? That's that.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Liana. I've been to so many talks and now I've never felt so inspired in my life. I mean, that's obviously why you started the inspiration space, but I'm ready to sack Startup Magazine off and start my own tech business. Honestly, that was, Preethi was definitely a hard act to follow and you absolutely smashed that. So thank you so much. And obviously with that, I won't open the floor to questions yet because Liana is actually going to be part of our wonderful panel. So with that, I want to say another massive thank you to Liana and a big welcome to our panel. If you'd all like to come and take a seat with us.
There we go.
Hello.
Oh, mic's at the end.
We have to do our mic check, but maybe not. Oh, they're on now. There we go. Just put this over a little bit.
Okay, that mic goes there.
Sorry, technical difficulties. I did tell you to bear with us.
Thank you.
So, I'll put it on your belt, okay?
But it's facing downwards. Oh, okay.
We all good?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
check, done.
Thank
you. Well, we're now about to have probably not as funny as Liana's talks. As I say, that was a hard act to follow. But I would love to welcome our amazing panel. So I'll start at this end. We have the wonderful Onwunye Ukapuro, CEO and founder of Enrich Learning. We have the wonderful Charlotte Morris, founder of Dazzle and Biz. We have the wonderful Liana Fricker, obviously you know, founder of Inspiration Space. And last but definitely not least, the lovely Jan Carlisle, founder of Autumn Live. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I've never done a panel like this, so forgive me if I don't.
It's very
know
question
how
time.
to act. Well, to start with, obviously, I gave you the briefest of brief introductions. So maybe we could just go around and you give yourselves a little brief introduction of you, your business, and I'm going to throw you under the bus here and basically also say an interesting fact about yourself.
Oh, that is under the bus.
Oh, well, so let's start here, shall we, Charlotte? You did that yourself. So
Okay.
Please take the floor.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you this evening. My name's Charlotte Morris, and I'm the founder of Dazzle and Fizz, which is an ultra high net worth event business serving the domestic market in London. Interesting fact, I once swam naked in a swimming pool on BBC One.
Amazing.
Sorry.
Onye, can you read that?
I don't know if I can beat the interesting fact, but good evening, everyone. My name is Aninye Udaporo. I am the founder and CEO of Enrich Learning, which is an online education platform and edtech. An interesting fact about me, and very suitable for this event, I started the business when I was 12, and I'm 23 now. And I kept it going all this time, and I'll definitely say it was easier when I was 12, because you accept that you don't know what you're doing when you're a child. So yeah.
Amazing. We will delve back into that a bit later on, but thank you, Onye. Jan, shall I pass the baton to you?
Yeah, I'm glad it's not a competition. My name's Jan Carlisle. I'm the founder and event director at Autumn Live, which I have been running as a limited company for the last 7 years. We produce and curate live, online and hybrid events, and we're based in Winchester. That's not my interesting fact. That's quite boring, isn't it? My interesting fact is I used to work for a cinema, and I was the marketing and development manager and ran all the events. And I hosted Quentin Tarantino for a film premiere. I got to have drinks and host him and bring him in backstage. And yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And
Very good fun.
Liana, obviously we know a little bit about you, but do you want to take the floor? And tell
Yeah,
us?
so I'm Liana Fricker, founder of Inspiration Space. Oh, and my interesting fact. Charles Schultz, the creator of Peanuts, was a very good family friend of mine. My uncle was the first Black national figure skating champion, and he then joined Ice Capades. And so Charles Schultz became a very good family friend.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
Just when we
very
didn't thought we
random.
could know any more about you. You throw another one out of the bag. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I love that. Interesting facts as well, because we get to know you a little bit more, as well as you
Or a
and
lot
your
more.
business. So now I want to know kind of, obviously tonight it's all about kind of being an entrepreneur, and you've all got super inspiring stories. So how did it start? Again, Charlotte, you're kind of looking at me, so let's start with you. How did your journey begin, and talk us through kind of where you got now?
Sure. So when I started my company, I wasn't 12. And by the way, that's amazing. But I felt super young at 24. And I was very heavily pregnant with my son. And all I'd done since uni was either sell stuff or act. And I thought, okay, acting, not such a stable career for a mother. I'll be touring all the time. Selling, okay, my soul was drifting away as each day passed, and I hated myself. Other than that, it was great. So I thought, what on earth can I do? So I decided to build a life that would suit me and would hopefully suit my son and would hopefully suit my life as a mother. That was obviously super naive, and actually running a business is like having twins. So suddenly I was landed with a baby I didn't know what to do with, and a business I equally didn't know what to do with. And that was back in 2013. So we've been operating now for 8 years. And through that time, I've nearly gone bankrupt. I have flown in a private cargo plane to the desert to set up an ice palace. I've cried mainly a lot on the phone to Liana, and every other experience you can imagine in between. But I only regret that I didn't start sooner, because it's also been the best journey.
Amazing.
So you're definitely never too young to start.
Well, I feel like Onye, it's as if baton is fully being passed to you. Tell us how it started at 12-year-old, and kind of, what was your thought process? Where did the idea come from, and how you've kind of fulfilled that path to where you are now?
So it started off with being 12, wanting to go to the cinema, being broke. Being broke makes you do a lot of things, good things, I hope. But I won a scholarship to a school called Christ's Hospital in West Sussex. We wear a funny Tudor uniform. Some of you may have heard of it. And when I got there, I was like, wow, I'm from inner city London. I got lost on the way here, and someone said, "Where are you from?" I said, "It's an obvious city girl here." And when I was there, I was like, "Oh my goodness, all this opportunity. The education is completely different. The access to opportunity is sky high." I came back for the summer and was like, "Oh, there's literally no opportunity in the rubbish part of North London," because it's a very expensive part, you know, where all the celebrities live, and then there's the not so good bit, which is where I grew up. And so I said to my mum, if you let me tutor your friends' kids, they have to pay me though, obviously, like no child labor here. Let's see how it goes. So I started off by tutoring one boy. I charged £5 for the hour. He passed his 11 plus. He got into a brilliant school. And I was like to my mum, okay, first of all, I think I can handle more than one child at a time. So that's more money. And I'm good at this. So we're raising it to £10. And that is literally how it started. I started tutoring people in my local area. And I'll be honest, yeah, the money was attractive, but it was the difference I was making to young people's lives. So, you know, people who came from a situation like mine, my family started off with 6 of us in a 1-bed flat, and my parents worked really hard and got us out of that situation. And I obviously went to this really fancy school, but the people around me, they didn't have that. And the schooling in my local area wasn't that great. So I knew that even if I couldn't get them to my fancy boarding school, I could get them to a better school, or at least get them achieving. And then I won a scholarship and I studied in China, and it was insane. I was doing crazy hours, like going to bed at 2 and waking up at 7, and that was normal. And I learned all about online education, flew back, used the jet lag time to make a website because I learned how to code when I was like 8. One of those weird genius children. So if my mom's watching, you did a good job. At this point, I'm 18, so I tutored all through GCSEs, I did the IB, so International Baccalaureate, and then set up the website, went on LinkedIn and said, "Hey guys, any students want to tutor for me? I'll pay you more than London's living wage, and here's the trick, it's from your bedroom." And that's literally how it started. Started on Skype, then moved over to Click Meeting. Some of you might know that third-party provider. And then in the background started working on our own platform, which we've now shifted to, and working with a brilliant developer. And that's really the story. So I guess, of course, like no one starts a business without wanting to make money, even if it's not for yourself. But I started it because I wanted to make a difference in my community and give people the opportunity to create their own success. So not necessarily loads of handouts, but a hand up. And that's how it started.
Definitely. And I think that's clear to see, obviously, in all 4 of you and most of you in the startup world. A successful business is someone that's doing it for the right reasons. You said this, Liana, not the wrong reasons. So doing it to help others. That's something I hear so often. So yeah, it's amazing to see on you, especially at such a young age as well. Jan, let me pass the baton now to you and tell us a little bit how you first started out and how you kind of got to where you are now.
Yeah, thanks. It's Anna, isn't it?
Yeah, of
thanks,
course,
Anna.
sorry.
It's okay. So similar to Liana, it was 2008 and credit crunch hit. I had just had our 3rd son and was working in the cinema all hours, because you could work till 11 o'clock at night in the cinema, and obviously my husband could then take care of the children. So trying to balance that fine childcare costs and income, just, you know, and we've all done it, it's a nightmare. So I quit my job, and a friend who was working on one of the wild in art projects, you might know them around Hampshire, they've had the rhinos, and I think they're doing the wild hares, and there was a wild in art project in Liverpool. And she was selling these super lamb bananas. So I don't know if you've ever been to Liverpool. There's an amazing sculpture, and it's a combination of a lamb at the front. It's bright yellow, and at the back, it's like a banana. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. but an amazing community project where loads of different schools and community organisations work with an artist to cover these Superland bananas. And then they got located all around Liverpool, but then all around the country. There was one at Euston, one at Runcorn Station. They sort of spread out of Liverpool. Anyway, she said to me, come and work with me. You can do some back of house stuff. You can fit it around your kids. I just need some help with this event. And it was a massive auction. So I said, okay. And then we kind of looked at our finances. I was like, can I afford to do this? Can I afford to freelance? And I was like, I'll give it a year. That was 2008. How long ago was that? I don't know. So became a limited company in 2014. We have a team of 7 of us now working. We deliver a lot of online and hopefully hybrid events. We haven't actually done a hybrid event. This is the first hybrid event I've been to. Well done. We've worked with WellPay, an Ordnance Survey, Mental Health Foundation, Audi, ITV2, just a whole list of really amazing people. And a couple of weeks ago, we did live in the studio and then delivered online with Pets at Home, which was just amazing. So yeah, that's part of my story.
Wow, again, what a story. Thank you for sharing. And Liana, obviously we know a little bit about your journey, so I'm not going to ask you to obviously share the same story again. What I want to know now with your side of things is, would you have started Inspiration Space if all those external factors hadn't have happened for you? Are you kind of one of these people that believes everything happens for a reason? Or, would you have still started Inspiration Space if you hadn't had that redundancy and if you hadn't had your child at that stage? Or does everything fall into place at a perfect time?
I think it does. And I think it does because you see the opportunities that you need. And so I'm one of those people, I believe that you make your own luck. There's opportunities all around. You just decide to say yes or say no. And I've always been that kind of person. I was saying to someone I met this evening, when I first moved to the UK, there was a point in time when there was almost like this alternative life happening because I had an actual sliding doors moment. Summer before I came here, I was living in Malibu. I had an internship at this really cool talent agency that was supporting the dance world, and they'd offered me a job, and that's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to move to LA, and I was supposed to be a talent agent. That was like my thing. I was like, I'm going to be a talent agent. And I came to the UK that January, and I never left.
And that was in January. Imagine if you come in July.
I know, right? And so I do think everything happens for a reason. And when I look back, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been a creator. And I think, again, like what I was saying earlier, I think that's why these stories we tell ourselves matters, because there are all kinds of things I could have done if I wasn't listening to all the things other people told me I should have done or I should do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that was also one of my kind of questions to you all. You sat here today and you could probably convince anyone, and I mean anyone of any background, any age, any gender, any ethnicity, that they could be an entrepreneur and there's something out there for them. You're all in this space. You've obviously all got this little spark or passion or something, skill in you. Can anyone do it? Or is this not for everyone? Do you have to have a certain skill set or a certain drive or a certain direction in life? I'm going to go to you again, Charlotte.
I think anyone who truly wants to do it can do it, yes. And I hold on to that. And I'm a minority group raising venture capital right now. And it's been a real roller coaster. And if I didn't truly and honestly believe that I can and will do it, then I would have broken a year ago, for sure. However, I do think it is not a life choice for everyone, because it's not a career choice. It is very much a life choice. And I do struggle at the moment with the whole rhetoric online of I'm going to live my best life and work for 30 minutes a day and then just chill out and I'm going to make $1 million in my first year, because it's just not like that for pretty much everybody in entrepreneurship. As Liana was saying in her talk, it is hard. I have gone through 2 marriages. It's true, divorced twice at 34, nightmare. Many bottles of Prosecco. And yeah, I'm grey, for goodness sake. I really shouldn't be grey at my age, but there we are. But I have my vision. I have my North Star, and no one is going to take that away from me. And I think that has generally been the only thing that's kept me going in the really, really, really dark times. So unless you've got tons and tons of grit, and a true and sincere belief, and be honest with yourself as well. Be honest with yourself. If you truly, truly know this is the path for you, then go for it, and don't let anyone hold you back.
Definitely, and I can see that in all of you. And you said it's a life choice, and I know obviously multiple of you on the panel tonight have children, but I'm going to aim this at you, Jan. How hard, because obviously you said when you were, could you do it with your children and balancing? How hard is it to find that balance? And sometimes does the entrepreneurial streak in you and that drive take over? And is it sometimes hard to find that balance? And do you still make time for other parts of your life?
Are there other parts of my life? I'm quite unique, and I don't believe there's such a thing as work-life balance. This is my life, and my life encompasses all the things that are in it. And when you first have a baby, really all you can do is look after that baby. It's the only thing you can do. And so that baby is the number one big focus thing. And then a little bit later down the line, you can actually do other things and have a life. So then your business may become the focus, but all of these things are still part of my life. The biggest challenge was always childcare and good quality childcare. Thankfully, one of my closest friends was a nursery nurse. She gave up her job to look after children. I was like, here, have all of mine. Take them to school, pick them up and bring them home again. But that childcare is a massive issue, and I don't think it's ever going to go away from women. It's always going to be one of our issues in running a business. But I echo everything that Charlotte said about determination and wanting to do it and going, actually, it's really good for my children to see me work. It's really good for them to see me committed to something. It's really good for them to go, I have 3 boys. It's really good for them to go, my mum does this and it's important to her, and look at the outcomes, and isn't that amazing? That process for them is really important as they grow up to be men in the world who support their partners. I just think that's incredible for them to see that.
Definitely. And I mean, you've all kind of covered it already so far. I'm not going to specifically ask you kind of what challenges you kind of have come across. I think that just naturally comes up in conversation as you talk about your journeys. There's always going to be challenges in life, especially in an entrepreneur's life. But as it's kind of a women's women in tech panel, female founders, we're kind of championing women. I want to know, Liana, have you ever faced any kind of challenges or any prejudice that have related to a gender or ethnicity along your path?
That's an interesting one. And I say it's interesting because whilst I'm sure there are, because the statistics are the statistics, I live my life in a way where I'm doing it for me. And I'm honest with myself. I probably could be a lot further than I am, but I practice a lot of patience. I, make different choices. Maybe those are because of my race or my ethnicity or, my gender, but maybe it's just because of the choices I'm making. And so I think with that question, it's really important to remember that we exist within a society, and there are barriers within the society that just exist. And I think one of the jobs of the entrepreneur is to break those down bit by bit. And this brings me to, with Inspiration Space, this is why we are not a gendered network. People ask us all the time, is it for women? And I say, no, but it is women founded, and most of our members are women. And the reason why I say it's not for women is, why would I want to other it? We need to normalize women just being in positions of power without being women. We're people.
Yeah.
And if I don't remove the label, how can I expect society to change? It starts with me.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's an important, obviously, issue to highlight. We want to get to a stage where people aren't female entrepreneurs or women in tech. We are just entrepreneurs, and everyone is treated the same. And I wish that was the case at the moment. And obviously, talking about prejudice on you, Inya, you were so young. Did people ever kind of treat you differently because of your age? Did you sometimes find there was challenges because you were such a young entrepreneur?
So the first thing was people kept telling me, how's your project going? And I would lick the face. I would say, it's not a project, it's a business. And I carried on. I started with that attitude as a child, and I carried it on even up till now. I mean, now I've been featured in Forbes and on covers of magazines. People have stopped calling it a project. But I noticed I wasn't the only woman. I would meet other women who were running big businesses, and people would say, so how's that? And it's always the little the little project as well. And I just thought to myself, you know, it's not little. Actually, I feel like I've had a child already. It's my first child. I'll be honest with you. I looked at my work phone just to make sure that the classes were going well this evening. When you start, it does feel like a newborn, and you feel like you've got to nurture it and hold on to it and cradle it at every single moment of your life, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. I don't really believe in work-life balance. This is my life. So that's the first issue, was making people actually believe that I'm running a business and not a little project. Again, with my gender, it was just the shock that a woman can do this. But I have to say my ethnicity plays a role in it, in the sense that my parents are Nigerian and they are Igbo. There are different tribes. But the Igbo people are known for being really entrepreneurial. So in a space of Africans, for example, they didn't even bat an eyelid. When I say I run a business, you must be Igbo. It's in your blood. You lot make money fall from the sky. I wish that was true. But a lot of the kind of traits of being able to run a business, I'd watched my grandma do it. She had so many, not only did she have businesses, but she managed other businesses at the same time. My mother went from doing catering at one point to doing hair at another point to sewing people's clothes at another point, all at one time, and also still maintaining a job. So that really helped me really have the confidence, so that when people ask me about my little project, I could correct them. So yeah.
You've had it like thrown at you all directions. So yeah, it is obviously amazing to see how far you've come and how amazing you've done. It obviously, you know, when you face challenges as a founder, as we've all kind of shared, that it does happen, challenges do occur. How do you talk yourself around it? How do you not throw in the towel? How do you keep going and maybe shift direction because that's not working for you? Charlotte, how have you faced that with your challenges?
I found it really useful having a co-founder, for sure. And my co-founder also happens to be my sister. So that could either be a nightmare or not. But thankfully, we don't really argue. We moved into new space in Guildford today, and we've kept the same office, just the two of us. So I think we're still mates. But having that person who is literally in the trenches with you, by your side, shoulder to shoulder, that's the kind of support that is really invaluable. I think the second way, I've known Liana forever, but I've always been really active in groups like the Inspiration Space, because I find this quite difficult, actually. It feels like therapy. Thanks for listening. As I've progressed away from university and into late 20s, early 30s, I've seen the paths that I've taken and the paths that all my other girlfriends have taken have completely split now. And I'm the only one who's an entrepreneur with a 10-year-old, doesn't want any more kids, and just loves talking about business. They're all in a very different space right now. So, yeah. Sorry. I've also got fibromyalgia. It's worth noting. This is a really good point to say it. And one of the things of my fibromyalgia is that I just forget what I'm doing, which just happened. So
you were telling us how you, when you think you've got challenges.
Yeah, thank you.
See past them.
Well, my fibro is a really big challenge because I have spent 4 months in a row in bedbound whilst running this business. I have been vomiting backstage and then having to come back on stage more times than I can dare to remember. And the thing that's been the hardest is I've had to let my team down. So that's probably the biggest doubt I've had in myself throughout my business journey is my health going to let everybody else down? Because the fact of the matter is that some days I can't get out of bed, and I don't want to be that guy. And the way I've got over that has been with my business partner. It's also been with, like, not to sound really airy fairy, but practicing things that serve you. So I now meditate every night before bed because an entrepreneur's brain does not switch off. So that's the only way now I can go to sleep. I've managed my health to a degree. And if you don't have family support, which I don't all the time in all areas of my family, then find your family somewhere else. And I found my family with Liana and her crew and Emily. So yeah, you can find yours too. It's out there.
how lovely. And and well, I guess this ties in perfectly. Liana, I was going to kind of ask you a similar sort of question. You know, you were talking about when, especially when the pandemic hit, which was obviously a big topic we need to kind of address. You nearly threw the towel in. You said, you know, that's a wrap, that's me. How did you, you know, not convince yourself, but encourage yourself maybe, and, you know, talk yourself out of that and say, you know, this is right, this is for me, and I need to keep going? How do you get over those hurdles?
Community. The day after, I had a one-to-one with one of our members, and she helped me. And then she said, you need to do, it's Laura Doherty from the Motivation Clinic. She was like, Laura's doing a vision board session on Saturday. You should sign up for it. And I was like, done. Like, I can't go on like this. So fine. It's in 48 hours. Fine. And oh my God, it was like being reborn. My husband took the kids out. I lit candles. I had my gongs on. We did it on Zoom. You know, it was the most cathartic, and I was just ripping and tearing and doing, and it liberated me. And what I realized was, of course you're going to feel tired. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So this whole thing, like, I got to keep grinding. Like, no, what? No. So I think for me, it's just always about keeping perspective and thinking about, well, what are you doing? Okay, well, you're in a really high, you know, pressured situation. So yeah, you're probably going to feel tired and jaded. And like Charlotte, like, you know, I go to sleep every night with these big headphones on. My husband's like, that's so romantic. I'm like, mind the Bose. But I need it. Like, I need it. You know, and I do I listen to my meditations. I work out. I drink water. You know, I've got Pam and Nigel, you know. I'm like, it's never a good thing when Pam sees me cry. She's like, oh my God, we're all okay. I'm like, I'm just freeing some things. We're fine. And it is also that feeling your emotions. I literally had a primal scream in the shower 2 days ago, and it was amazing. I bet my neighbor was like, what's happening over there? Because the window was open. But what I'm doing is not normal. So how I cope with it is maybe not going to be normal, you know.
I feel like, a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, we talk about it all the time, avoiding burnout, you know, looking after yourself, mental well-being, looking after, you know, if you've got members of staff now and your team's growing, looking after them. It's so hard, but you've got to remember you're human. Like, you're allowed to cry, you're allowed to be stressed, you're allowed to be worried. And like you say, maybe talking about that and having that community around you is definitely one of the biggest ways to overcome that. And so with that, Jan, like having a community around you, which I'm sure, you know, you have, and you've built that, and most entrepreneurs do. Have you had much inspiration or people to kind of look up to when you were kind of growing your business, and people that have inspired you on the way, inspiration space?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important. Obviously, we're all connected through Inspiration Space and Liana, and all of us, or any of you who've listened to Liana in the last hour, will be like, this is a person I want to be around. I want whatever she's got to rub off on me, because it's infectious and she kicks stuff into action. So Inspiration Space for that is just perfect. And I've forgotten your other question. I can't think what else you said.
Just having the community around
you.
Yeah,
mentoring was what I was going to mention. And I have a mentor, is someone that I was connected to when we moved to Winchester about 6 years ago, and it was just through a connection of one of my clients. This woman founded the largest independent digital agency and sold it about 4 years ago, and is now an investor in loads of different tech and startups. She has a couple of young children, and I spend probably a few hours with her every few months. She's just incredible inspiration and knows so much, but challenges me and goes, why are you doing that again? And what is the purpose of that? And how does this fit with and, you know, all the questions that you don't want to hear, or perhaps you don't ask yourself as an entrepreneur, because sometimes you just think you know it all. But obviously,
and to be honest,
we don't.
I think you actually all do.
No,
So
we don't.
that's okay for you to say. I'm conscious that I'm taking up all the time, and I want to obviously open up to the audience. And I hate asking the panel like one by one the same question, but I do want you to have the opportunity to all answer this, because it's one of my favorite questions. So I'm going to start as my kind of closing remarks. You all have fabulous journeys and such success. Like, I don't need to blow your trumpets anymore. Like, we know how amazing you are, but I will continue to. But if you looked back at your younger selves, not that long ago for you on and you know, you had some advice for that younger person before you started out, what would that advice be to yourself? What do you wish maybe you'd known back then? We'll start with you on Yunya.
Do you know what? I'm going to be rogue and not really answer your question. Because I feel like I'm starting my journey again a little bit, because earlier this year, I thought I found the perfect business partner / angel investor, and it went horribly wrong about a month ago. And I literally was sitting on company's house going, close this company now. And what stopped me from doing it is my younger self, how many years ago now? 11 years ago, that I literally saw, I promise you there's nothing wrong with me, but I saw myself. I saw 12-year-old me. I was sat in the same living room where I started the tuition. And I just thought, right, if I bring this all to an end because of a really toxic, horrible man, what happened to the hundreds of children that you've put through some of the best schooling in the country? What happens to all those parents? What happens to the community you set up? Are you going to go groveling back to the big four that you were supposed to go and do the grad scheme at? Are you going to tell them that you failed and that's why you're back? What are you really going to do? And I shut my laptop and I cried for about 2 hours in my mom's arms. And I said, Mom, how am I going to get myself out of this? I wasn't even sure if I was going to come to this because I thought, I don't know if this business is going to exist. It's had a good run. But what I would say to my younger self is, my goodness, you're ballsy and just keep being ballsy. People that tell you it's a little project, keep telling them it's a business. Every single time that, you know, you have a fall, remember you're falling forwards and not backwards. Every single time that you think, oh my goodness, how am I going to get there? Just go there anyway, because the course of the journey will get you through it. My younger self was so naive, and it was that naivety that's brought me this far. So if there's anyone in here, whether you're young or old or in a midlife crisis or in divorce number 10, it's okay. It's completely fine. Look to that inner child, because children don't really fear anything, right? And use that energy to push ahead. So yeah.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you didn't throw the towel in. And I think maybe in years, months even maybe to come, you'll say that happened for a reason and this has now happened from it, and it's a ripple effect. And yeah, I can't wait to follow your journey even further.
Thank you.
Charlotte?
Firstly, we have all wanted to throw the towel in like most weeks. So you're amongst friends here. You keep going. What I would have told my younger self, I think, is dream bigger. I think looking back, I put a lot of self-limiting beliefs upon my person just because of where I came from. I came from a very working class background. I went to a small state school. I had no family wealth or connections. And I was trying to service the top 0.01% of the market. So that wasn't the most likely journey. So yeah, I think from the beginning, I put limits on myself. And it's only really now that I've started to understand that there are no limits. And do you know what? I'm a human just as much as the next person. And we only get one shot at this. So why don't we go for it? What's the worst that can happen? And I think that's only something I've learned after taking an event business through COVID. That was emotional. And seeing every penny that you'd earned for 10 years in the bank just go within 4 months, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But none of that scares me anymore because I've done it and I'm still sat here. So yeah, dream bigger is my younger self feedback.
Everything you've been through is a lesson learned, I think, is
Or a really good story.
Yeah, or a really good story. Love story time. Liana, what about yours? I feel like there's a lot you may say to your younger self.
I think mine is kind of a good general theme, which is like, you don't have to play by the rules. All arbitrary. This is all made up. And I think I always knew that, but COVID definitely was like, they shut down the whole economy for basically a year around the world. And they've been telling us forever, we can't change air travel. We can't do this. Well, it turns out we can. So what I would say to my younger self is, you don't have to play by the rules. Make them up.
And like you said earlier in your speech, anything is possible.
Anything, for good and for bad.
And yeah, that definitely is something everyone needs to remember. And yeah, Jan, what would you tell your younger self?
Get there quicker. Like, what was I doing? I don't think I wanted to be 12 and starting running events, but I was organising the household from, I don't know what age, 3 probably. And I think I kind of faffed around a lot and didn't really maybe believe that I could do it until I was older. And yeah, get there quicker. What were you doing? I don't know.
Oh, if you could turn back time, maybe. Well, ladies, it's been incredible. I would now like to open the floor. If anyone does have any questions, we have got a mic so that we will bring round to you. Now is your time to answer these questions. Pick these amazing brains while you have got the chance.
If anyone online has questions?
Yeah, have we got any online questions? We haven't forgotten about you guys. Oh, we have got one. Microphone coming.
It's a general question, if anyone would like to answer. At what point did you think, oh, I've done it, like I'm doing really well, this is successful?
When did you feel like you guys were a success and you'd made it? Anyone want to take the baton?
I'd say as a British person and therefore very self-deprecating, that moment hasn't quite happened yet, but it nearly happened today when I walked. It seriously nearly happened this morning when, after living in a kind of shed for an office for the past however many years, we finally got a big 6,500 square foot office in an estate in a business park in Guildford. And I was like, okay, I'm quite excited. Opened the door, came in. There was not only a shower, people, I now have both a men's and ladies' toilet in my office. And I thought I've made it. This is serious. The times of sharing the bathroom are over. So yeah, that was a win.
Amazing. Liana, when did you feel like?
You know, this is going to be a little bit trite and corny, but honest to God, anytime we progress, anytime it works, because this is all an experiment, right? And so you theorize, and you always have this moment where you're about to like, okay, I'm going to press play. And then it blows up. And you're like, oh, okay. All right, we did it. And then you just like move on. And it's like those little things, because this is all such an experiment. You never know. And I try to celebrate those little milestones because I don't think I have some big element of success. You know, I don't see this trophy. I think it's the little wins for me.
Definitely. Anyone want to add? Untitled, did you feel at a young age, you know, you were doing more maybe than your peers?
Yeah, so I have 2 degrees and I signed a book deal last year and I'm about to start a career on TV as well. So there's a lot going on and trying to figure out when I've made it. I'll be honest, I've had to tell myself now every single day. So like you today, I definitely made it because for the first time, I'm nowhere near the business. It's in London, I'm in Winchester. The phone is in the bag. So if there's any crisis happening, I can't deal with it. And it ran smoothly. That is a massive success. I think the world we live in today praises massive success in terms of how many zeros are in the bank and how many employees did you have and are you VC backed and all of that, it can almost make you feel like a failure. So after I've just told you all the things I've accomplished for a long time this year, I felt like I was failing massively. I'm not just saying that so you pity me. Like I genuinely felt like I was just doing so badly at life. And that's so unhealthy. And then I realized I need to reframe my mind and actually think, do you know what? You got invoices paid today. That's a pat on the back. All the kids logged on today. You've got your own platform. You're not using Zoom or Teams. You're better than that. You've got an app as well. You know, you've done really well. And I think we've just got to be kinder to ourselves. We are coming out, well, I don't know if we're coming out of it, this pandemic, you know, but we are coming out of a lot of trauma. Everybody in this room has faced some sort of trauma in the last 18 months. So every day, kind of tell yourself, I've made it. I made it through to the end.
Definitely. Amen to that. Do you want to add anything, Jan, or I have got one more online question?
Go for your online. Good.
So, and open to the panel, whoever wants to. How have your priorities changed from when you first started?
I'll take that one first. I would say for me, I'm super focused. Anyone who knows me from the beginning, when it was like a million ideas, I've got this like insane drive. I'm like, I'm not fun anymore. I'm like, don't bring any ideas. No ideas. I've got this like really relentless sort of like just tunnel vision. And it's weird, but really exciting because I never thought that I would be that person. And yet it's just happened really naturally, almost like it's just a necessity. I literally wear a uniform. I'm like Mark Zuckerberg. I've got 5 t-shirts and 3 pairs of sweatpants, and I just alternate between them, and it's amazing. Like, it's amazing. So yeah, it's just I'm really, really focused in a way that I don't think I ever thought would be possible.
Jan, have your priorities changed along the way at all? Or?
Yeah, I'm sure they have. I do feel like when you get to that stage in business, when you've been doing it a while, and I'm probably older than all of you, and I think I should have grown up by now. I should be a grown-up. I should be the grown-up in the room. And I just go, no, I'm still feeling that energy or that enthusiasm and that passion that I first had when I started, and think, why would I want that to go away? That's just really part of the drive of why I do it. But seeing the rewards is obviously a huge thing that's changed. And reframing them, just like Onyinye said, reframing how you see things and how you approach things when you've got a new challenge that comes at you.
Definitely. I'll pass over to you if you wanted to add, but I also want to add one more final note. I promise we can go for a drink. Have your priorities changed from when you first started? Having this both of you, and have you enjoyed all of it? You just said that, Jan, so it made me think, have you enjoyed every step of the way?
I'll go first. My priority is now getting help. Anybody in this room who can help me, come and talk to me, please. That is the danger of starting so young. I never had a co-founder. I didn't know people get business partners. I didn't know that you're supposed to have a team. I didn't know that I'm not supposed to be CEO, CFO, CTO, CFO. I'm the whole C-suite, guys, which is really great. No, it's not. I didn't realize that you get to a point in a business, because the pandemic also, it helped in terms of the bank. Yay, because everyone was like, online education. I was talking about it since 2018. Like, I was on it already. I didn't realize it would grow so quickly. And like, when a business grows, you actually need more people to help you, because then you need to serve more customers. So that's what my priority is now. So like the Instagram has not really had any posts this year. I'm not marketing anymore until I get the team to carry more customers. And sometimes that's really hard as a business because I'm turning down money, which people would think is madness, but it would be very irresponsible to take on that workload knowing that I'm already crashing and burning inside. Why would I do that to myself even more? And have I loved every step of the process? Do you know what? Absolutely, yes. Oh. I've cried more than when I cried as a baby this year. It's been really good for me. And the main reason why is when you've gone through life like myself, I'm dyslexic at the same time, where you've achieved so much and you're always top of the class and you're always doing really well, and then boom, something happens and maybe you're not doing so well. It's really good for your ego, and it's really good for you growing up as a person, and you learn new skills like to be resilient. So I didn't know that I could literally be crying 5 minutes before a pitch and then win what I wanted to win at the end of the pitch, literally patching up my makeup across the road from some big building in central London because I'd been crying as I walked across Waterloo Bridge. You don't realize that you can get through those moments. So yeah, you've got to love it, the good days and the bad days. Absolutely.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would say my priorities actually haven't changed since I started my business, because my priorities have always been very, very simple: my business and my son. And the fact that I gave birth to them pretty much at the same time. I'm lying, actually. I went back to work 9 days after I had him. And I had the midwife going, "You can't do this. I can't be fine." And my mother walked up and down the street pushing the baby while I was dressed as Minnie Mouse. It was and I breastfed him in the toilet in the break. So these are the kind of things you have to do when you're bootstrapping. But no, my priorities hadn't changed since the beginning. It's the whole reason I birthed the business was because it was inspired by my son. And that, ladies and gents, is why I've had 2 divorces. Because if you're 50% business, 50% childcare, there ain't no room for nobody else.
The one else.
It transpired. So yeah, that's my priorities. And have I enjoyed it? It would be remiss of me to say yes, I have, because I think no, I have not. Yeah, there have been so many moments where I thought, I swear I could have been a lawyer or like something. This is so dumb. I was quite smart. And particularly when my business revolves around working weekends. So I've now worked weekends every weekend since I was 22 years old. And yeah, you don't have much of a life. It's quite difficult. So yeah, there have been moments at 3 o'clock in the morning driving a transit van into central London to set up a party where there's a 16-foot octopus. No, it hasn't all been highs. But I think you can't change the fact that I now know for the first time in my whole life, like I am an entrepreneur. There is nothing else I could or would ever try and be. And just like Liana said, I'm freaking unemployable. I managed 12 months working for somebody else, became the top salesperson. I was like, oh, this is shit. And I've been self-employed since I was 22. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm unemployable. And I think even if you don't know you're an entrepreneur now, if you are, trust me, you'll find out.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to add anything? No, sorry.
Perfect
There was
note to
Ready
end
for a
on.
clap?
Right? I'm like, yes,
Really
that's a
good.
perfect note to end on. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Sorry, I was just conscious. I was like, ladies, did we want me to give you the floor? No. Thank you so much. I don't want to take any more of your networking and drinking time. So just thank you. Thank you all for coming today. It's so amazing to be back in person at events. I'm literally buzzing right now. And I can't wait to talk to you all out there. Thank you so much, Inspiration Space. Thank you for everything. You're so inspiring. Thank you for tonight. Thank you for being so funny. Thank you for being so welcoming. Just thank you. Thank you to my wonderful panel. Honestly, literally couldn't have picked a better panel if we tried. Thank you so much to the University of Winchester and the Business School. You guys, this space is insane. I've had a tour. Like, have you seen everywhere? Like, it's incredible. And just, yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Like, we all deserve this. So let's give everyone a round of applause and then go get a drink.
And yourself, you nailed it.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. Thank you.